fiber friends. I hope you're in a good headspace. My name's Abby and I am excited to be here and I'm excited to be hanging out with you today. I am going to show you what I made this week. I am a crocheter, although I do some other fiber crafts. I only crocheted this week. But what I'm hoping you get out of this video is, first of all, you got somebody to hang out with while you're crafting. I am going to try, and if I forget, maybe in the editing to like have a little sound effect to say, hey, look up, if I'm going to show you something, because I know I will listen to a lot of other crocheters on YouTube, and sometimes I just like end up really getting into my yarn and not looking up and missing a lot. So what I'm hoping to do is just be like, okay, if you're crocheting right now, look up, and then maybe I'll have a little sound if I forget to do it. I am also here, maybe this video can help you be inspired for a new project. And finally, if you are like me and you like to buy up people's yarn stashes and then you end up with this yarn that you don't know what to do with because maybe the pictures weren't so great, maybe I can help you figure out what to do with some of that weird yarn that you have. So that brings me to the first thing I made this week. I wanted to redo my yarn wall, which you can see behind me. I got a little bit new background. And what was in my way were 4 skeins of that super thick yarn that bought up somebody's stash, and I paid a very good price for 2 full garbage bags of yarn, which came with a lot of stuff that I was excited to use, and then there was also some stuff in there that I really didn't know what to do with, including these it's called Yarn Beat Eternal Bliss, which is a misnomer because I did not find anything blissful about that extra chunky yarn that requires a size 25 crochet hook. I had 4, I think I said that already, that I had 4 skeins of it and I don't like it. So I Googled what to do with it, and the first thing that I saw was a cat pillow, and I'm like, okay, that looks reasonable. This stuff is so thick. How do you magic ring? First, I mean, my hands are like way too small to magic ring something that chunky. And then when I did finally manage to do that, the pattern said to put 12 single crochets into the ring, and I'm like, I cannot make a ring big enough. And so then I tried to do 6 and then increase around, and it was, I mean, it just looked like this. It was so domey, and I'm like, I'm done. I'm gonna make a blanket. So I started single crocheting, and then it was just like super stiff. And what I finally ended up with, and let me show you, was to do the blanket with half double crochets into the back loop to make it as drapey as possible. Now, it is still not as drapey as I would want it to be. And I was showing it to my family, and I was like, yeah, I'm making this blanket with this super chunky yarn. I don't know how I feel about it. And both my husband and my daughter were like, well, maybe it'll soften up when it gets washed, because it is very stiff, but it's also very squishy, and this thing's heavy. So it might be nice when it's cold. It was a little bit uncomfortable doing this in August and having a blanket on me while I did it. But all right, so what you can see, 1 skein is just this much. I could only do 4 rows, and I started with 21 foundation stitches, and then so like my first row was 20. And that's a pretty good size, like width-wise, for a couch blanket. But that was the first 2 skeins right there. And these are $7.99 a pop, so I was not going to go and buy more, and I don't even know if these colors are still available. So as you can see, I did these 2, and then I have this variegated yarn to just try to add some interest to the stripes. But what I did was taking the 3 strands and looping it through the loop. I hope you know what I'm talking about. You take the strand and you loop it this way, and then you loop it this way, and you crochet, and then when the loop gets too close, you just grab your yarn and pull through, so that there are tutorials if you have absolutely no idea what I'm talking about. But this is using 3 strands, and it was still not thick enough to match this, so that, as you can see, like I could not get a straight line. It's not a perfectly rectangle blanket, but it will do. And then I did the same thing for the border, trying to make it a little bit more rectangular, at least, and also just giving it a border. It's blanket yarn that I tripled, and I just did a reverse single crochet around. I didn't have enough to do. Ooh. If I had more, I probably would have done another round of the border, but I didn't, and frankly, I just want to be done. 0 stars, do not recommend. Oh, and also what I meant to say was, like, as soon as I started working with it, I was like, this should be knitted, and it would be a little bit drapier. And so first of all, I went and bought a giant 25mm crochet hook to work with that yarn, thinking I could do something round with it. I thought I could make a really big plushie with it. And so I bought that big crochet hook, but then when I started working it, I'm like, this should be knitted. I did not want to go out and buy those giant chunky knitting needles and then just have them like take up space in here when I had just reorganized this room. So I don't know, it might just end up sitting in a trunk, but I made room. And this is almost everything. The closet is another day of organization. It's where I keep my makes for markets, but there's also a bunch of other junk in there. And I guess as I start working through this, I can start bringing it out, and then eventually just have all of my yarn in these cubes right here. Not quite there yet. So, second thing I want to show you this week. This is a dog scarf. And I had mentioned in my video a couple of weeks ago that I had met someone, actually through Facebook Marketplace, because I said this a couple weeks ago. I found a listing of someone who wanted to sell all of her yarn for $600, or maybe if somebody was interested in making kits, let's talk. So we did talk. We met for lunch twice, and we were just, brainstorming how to do it, how to sell it, and then she was thinking like Etsy, and then parties, and so we just had a lot of ideas, and we were going to meet a 3rd time, but it was my last week at my old job, and I was just like super busy, and so I texted her and I'm like, can we hold off until the end of the week? And she was like, yeah, no problem. And then we got to the end of the week. I'm sorry, but I was like, I got a funeral tomorrow and I got a lot to do. Can we postpone again? My fault. I was the one that I didn't ghost, because I did text, but I did say like twice, can we postpone? And then after when I said I had the funeral, she just said, oh, well, my condolences, and I sold all the yarn. Disappointed, because our first thought was to make crochet kits to make them dog scarves, and then these were just buttons that I had in my stash. The idea was, because she has a laser printer, is to make buttons in logos of NFL teams, and so these are the colors of the closest NFL team to us, and so we were gonna come up with collecting the yarn in different NFL colors, and then having the buttons, and then selling that as a learn to crochet kit. And then this was my prototype for the dog scarf. It's either gonna get frogged or thrown away. My dog hates clothes, so I put it on her to model, and she was not having it, but what's to do with that? Anyway, I just wanted to catch up on that, because a couple weeks ago, I think it's even like in my thumbnail, new opportunity. No. So anyway, and here's my second kit right button. Next thing that I made this week, my inspiration came from watching the Bobble Stitch Queen, and she's cool. Tracy from Travel Crochet shouted out her channel, and I of course went and checked it out. She's really, really cool, and she held up these 2 mermaid bags that she was going to sell at her next market, and I saw those and I was like, oh, I need these at my market. So I found a pattern, which I will put the link in the description to this video. It was funny because I'm sorry, I don't remember her name, but the Bobble Stitch Queen said, she held up the mermaid tail and was like, I hate making straps. And I thought that was kind of funny because I really like don't mind making purse straps. But here's my first one and I love it. This is Red Heart Super Saver Stripes. I'm sorry, I do not remember the name of this colorway, but it's one of those striped ones. And then this yellow is some just like acrylic mystery yarn that I got buying up someone's stash. Pretty sure this button came from a thrift store. And so you can see it has like the tail on the bottom. This is so cute. And then I have, just like I said, the button to hold it closed. And then the original pattern has you do the scallops like right here. You do these scallops in the front loop and then you use the back loop to start your strap. And it said to half double crochet 6 and turn, half double crochet 6 and turn to make one either like crossbody or shoulder strap. That seemed not sturdy to me at all, and especially half double crochets, which is going to be more stretchy, and then into only one loop is going to make the bag stretchy. So what I did instead, and I'm also just kind of a fan of a bag with the 2 handles and then being able to carry it like this or just carry it in your hand. And so what I did was I did like according to the pattern, I did the scallops in the front loop, and then I used the back loop to single crochet around, and I think I did it 3 times just to make sure that it was extra sturdy and it was 2 loops going into 2 loops. And I don't remember the exact numbers, but how I do this is I take the number of stitches and I divide by 6, because then it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then, so whatever that number is, like if it were 72, you would do 12 and then do 12 more. And then you chain to the length that you want. You do 12 more. Chain, skipping 12 in the middle, but I think you got the hang of it. But I love it. The blog is called The Cookie Snob, and there were 2 sizes for the bag. This was the child sized, which I think is a perfect adult sized bag, and I think she did say to use like a size 5 hook, and that's what I used. This yarn calls for a 5.5, but I just sized down slightly so that it's a little bit tighter. But I also have this other yarn, and it's over there, I'm not gonna grab it. But it's thinner, and I made a second one, and it's the adult size, but because it's a thinner yarn, I used a size 2.75 hook, and I made the adult one. And you guys, it's so pretty. I wish you could feel this, because the fabric is just so dense and drapey all at the same time. I just love it. I love how the stripes came out. I'm sorry, this was just mystery yarn from somebody's stash. I have absolutely no idea what it is. And as soon as something heavy goes into this bag, the straps aren't gonna curl up anymore. But my God, this took forever. I am not gonna get money back on the time investment that I put in this, but it's just so beautiful. And I don't think I could get more than maybe $40 for an unlined bag. And I don't even know if I'm gonna put I just kind of feel like this might even be too small to put a button on it. I think it's fine just open like this, and it is like way more for decoration anyway. This is my phone case here. Like, the phone just barely fits. This is for form, not function. So I made 2 bags, and I do not have a market this week, but I've got 2 coming up. And one of the things that I sold at my last market is these are very much a bread and butter item for me. This Hello Kitty, it's a free pattern on Ribbler. The author's name is Zuzia Amigurumi, and I will put a link in, you know, I will give everybody, all the authors, credit for the patterns that I'm showing you in this video. So I, for the longest time, was an acrylic yarn girl. I still have an acrylic Hello Kitty that it's the same pattern, but I'm selling it a little bit cheaper now. Every time I do it, it gets a little bit faster. The skirt can get a little bit tedious, and I always do an extra round, and it's 3 double crochets into 1 stitch, and then 1, 3, 1, 3, 1, 3, 1. It takes a really long time to do that part, but then you do one leg, and then the second leg you join them, and then you change colors, and then you do one of the early pink rows and the back loop, and then once you do the body, and then you go into the front loop to do the ruffles on the skirt, and then you do the arms, the head, the ears, the bow, and then the embroidery. I was working on the head, and because I'm still kind of new to plush yarn, and I think I said this before, and somebody gave me a really great tip on how to avoid this, but I didn't feel like doing it, and I popped in the largest plain black safety eye that I had, and a couple minutes later it was just popping out, back and all. And I was like, oh, that's weird. So did it again, popped out. So I ended up embroidering her face, and I'm actually pretty happy with it. I did consult another website. I found like apps just 100% dedicated to embroidering a Hello Kitty face, so thank you to that. I wasn't so sure at first, but then I put it away and looked at it again, and I was like, yeah, she's cute. Now, because I'm still new to plush yarn, and I mentioned earlier with the super chunky yarn how it domes in the top, even though this does start with 8 single crochets, I did have to do a little bit of face shaping, and she's got a little bit of a dimple back here. But I think that's what was bugging me for the longest time, because I was looking at pictures trying, like, what is off about this? And Hello Kitty's face is oval this way, but her eyes are oval this way. And the black circles just weren't doing it right. And then this looked more like a vertical football before the face shaping. I think like if I could squish the head a little bit more, it would look more like a Hello Kitty, but I have done the absolute most face shaping that I could get away with, because even, you know, like she's got a little divot in the back of her head, and also a little bit of a dip in the front too. So I may work on the pattern, but that is hard to do with a smaller hook size than what you're supposed to use, and eyes that don't pop out. But then, you know, not so unhappy with the embroidery. So caught up on that. So now I have her, and I've got an acrylic one to sell at my next market. And all week between the blanket, which I'm not going to take to a market, and the Hello Kitty, which was taking too long, and the first mermaid bag was a pretty good market make. That was reasonably, I finished it in a reasonable amount of time where I will make a reasonable hourly rate when sold, but not the little one, which was the big pattern. But you know, not the one that I made with the skinny yarn. And so I was like, I need to do some market friendly stuff. And when I was cleaning up my office, I had these for a while, and I only had a few left, like these little googly-eyed rings. And I've made a bunch of, like, a frog and an octo. They sold slowly over time. I only had a few left, but what I decided to make were these Yip Yip chopstick holders. Yip, 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 yip. And so I have 1, 2, these are just dollar store chopsticks. And when I've sold these in the past, I would ask, like, do you want the chopstick? And more times than not, people are just like, no. And then I'll just stick it into another one. So yeah, that was 1, 2, 3. I do and don't like how this variegated. 4, 5, 6, 7, and these are very, very fast. I think I did all 7 of these in 2 hours. So really, really great market mix. And the pattern came from Repeat Crafter Me, but I think that pattern is more complicated than it needs to be. And also it was not, I don't say marketed, but it wasn't displayed on the website as a chapstick holder. And I don't know if that was my idea or if I saw it somewhere else to do Yip Yip chapstick holders. Like, I always feel like I do this loop too short. But I did put a jump ring on one of them, so it's like you can use this loop and then put a key ring on it and then hang that from your purse strap, if that's how you want. I don't know. I never know how long to make these straps. But anyway, let me just very quickly, I could do a tutorial. Can you put in the comment if maybe a beginner that maybe would not enjoy somebody's what I made this week video, but somebody just really wanting to learn how to crochet, like, do you think somebody would want to learn how, like, this would be a great first project. So anyway, what you do, yeah, just put in the comments if you think somebody would enjoy that. Very, very simple. You just take your yarn and you tie a knot around this ring, and you do 12 double crochets into the ring, and then you chain, and then you single crochet back, so you've gone loop, loop, and then you chain 6 and attach it here, and then you just single crochet around until it's long enough to be a chapstick holder. And of course it's going to stretch, so do it a little bit shorter than you think you need to. The original pattern had some fringe on the bottom, but that would annoy me on a bag, so I don't include the fringe, and it's going to get all like beat up on the side of someone's purse. So but very, very, very easy. And I only have a few of these rings left, which is really helping me just like clean out stuff. Well, I'm not gonna say I don't need it because I'm using it, but just extra stuff that I've had in this office. Almost done with those. And that, oh no, I did more. Last week, my goal was to, and I don't remember if I said finish the tiger or work on the tiger, but I'm not gonna go back into my last video and rewatch to find out. I'm just gonna go ahead and say that my goal was to continue working on this tiger. That is just, I'm in my own head about it, and I said that the last time. I'm just being a perfectionist about it and don't want to get frustrated. So anyway, I did make some progress. It's still in 2 pieces. So I have the body, and since I last showed you, I did the toe shaping. I sewed on this white part, I sewed on the tail, and then on the head I sewed on the ears, I made the nose, and then I started, because this is the part that was really like making me not want to continue. I am so nervous about the stripes. So I made these 2 V's on the top of the head, but I think I'm gonna stop. The original pattern has way more stripes than I think I'm gonna do, because I think at this point I can do maybe 4 diagonal stripes on either side of the body, and then I can attach the head and I can call it a day. But this is something. The pattern's 29 pages long. I bought it because I was at a market and the lady at the tent next to me was like, hey, do you have any tigers? And I was like, no. And I just went on Etsy real quick and bought a tiger pattern, I didn't, well, I wouldn't have been able to anyway, but having no idea how complicated this was going to be. And the last thing I said last week that was my goal for this week was, and again, I don't remember if I said I would work on it or if I said I would finish it, but if the goal was to work on it, it is accomplished. Didn't get to it until this morning. Again, like just starting a big project. I've just been in my head and just noticed how much I've been procrastinating over the past week and not wanting to get started on things. And so today I knew I was gonna have to make this video, And this is really helping for me being accountable for what I decided, for the goals that, you know, productivity goals for crocheting each week. I was like, okay, I'm going to set a timer for 1 hour, and I'm going to work on this pattern for 1 hour, and then I'm going to stop. And that worked. I took some really good notes, and it is nowhere. I keep looking over there because I'm like, am I going to show it to you? Not yet, but be on the lookout, probably not next week, but the week after, for a pattern test. I will definitely put that out on Instagram, and I'm not going to show it to you yet. But anyway, that is what I made. It's actually quite a bit. I mean, the blanket's taking up a lot of space, but between the blanket, the 2 bags, the 7 Yip Yips, and the Hello Kitty, and the progress on the tiger, and a new pattern, that's pretty good for 7 days. So I'm feeling, as much as I was stuck in my head about feeling like I was procrastinating, I actually do feel really good about the progress that I made. So coming up, I am just going to continue on the tiger. I am not promising that it will be done, but I will at least set a timer for 1 hour at some point between now and next Sunday and continue working on it. I'm not in a huge hurry either, because it's not something that I think is going to be purchased at my next market. It's definitely going to sit there for a while because it's not going to be cheap, and it's not cuddly either, because I'm using acrylic yarn so that you can see the detail. It's just going to be the right buyer at the right time, and I'm not like rushing to have it at my next market because I know it's going to be with me for a little while. And all right, so this is what's coming up. I'm going to work on the tiger. I'm going to work on the pattern that I'm writing, and I'm not telling you what it is yet. I'm just not. And I saw a group of 10 creators are doing the crochet roulette challenge, and I think Tracy at Travel Crochet is leading that. What she and everybody else on her team are doing is spinning 2 wheels, one wheel being a color and the other wheel is an animal or a plush, what the plushie is going to be. And what the 2 wheels spun for this week is variegated Australian animal. And I was like, wow. So that really like got my head spinning. I heard it on the live, and then I was like, hold on, did I really hear variegated Australian animal? I had to go watch the video to be like, okay, yes, that is what happened. And I think I found the pattern and I have the yarn, but I kind of feel like I'm cheating because what I picked out is variegated, but like slowly. It's not like this kind of variegated. So I might be cheating, but my goal is to, like I said, work on the tiger, work on my own pattern. I'm gonna complete the crochet roulette this week, and I am going to use up these eyeballs. I think that is very realistic. So I will be back next week to report my progress. Other than that, life's been lifing, and you know, I've been complaining about this all summer long. My job did officially end a week. It's been a full week now. Yeah, because I got a little like warning on my phone that action required on my email, and because it doesn't exist anymore. And my health benefits are going to run out at the end of the month, but I do have an interview tomorrow, and I'm feeling very hopeful about it. I haven't set up gap coverage yet for my health insurance because I'm just feeling very hopeful, and like, let me get through this interview and kind of feel it out, because if you're watching from outside of the United States, it's called Cobra coverage. So if you leave your job and you don't have your health benefits anymore, you can pay, and it's going to be about $800 a month just for the coverage, but I do need it. I'm diabetic, I mean, my medicine costs more than $800, so I would have to pay that, and just not having a full-time job right now, that just is really scary. So I have been procrastinating about signing up for that, and also with this interview coming up, like, maybe I won't need it. But that is the good thing about the super expensive coverage, is that you can just like say I'm stopping it immediately, and I'm pretty sure that's how it works. I've never stopped it mid-month before. I've only had it one other time, and that was the job I had before this one. There was a 1-month gap between when my old job finished at the end of June and then my new job started the 1st of August, because I'm in education, so everything runs like by the school year. So I'm rambling, but I really appreciate you tuning in. You will maybe see my Australian variegated animal, my variegated Australian animal on Instagram before next week, but I will definitely show it in my next long form video. And probably by the time I make my next video, I will know what the next challenge is for crochet roulette. So until then, I mean it, the headspace, it's important. It's tough out there right now. So have a good week.